do, 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 do. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Welcome back to another great episode. I am standing because the devil tried to hold me down. Y'all don't understand how the devil tried to hold me down for this month of February. This is a month of love and history. I have someone here who's created some history herself. But before I get to that, this is our second time recording. That's why I say the devil tried to hold me down. The devil tried to hold us down. I'm just wanted y'all to know, but he will not hold us back. We are going to continue
Nope.
on with this show. And as we continue on with this show, y'all know I like to say, good day, my good and gracious people. Again, even though y'all wasn't here for the first one, I'm going to say good day, my good and gracious people. I hope all is well no matter when you listen to this. This is another amazing love and history show of Hell I Don't Know. My guest is an interesting guest. I will tell you that. To all my listeners in all of the amazing continents of Germany, Austria, Australia. I said Austria. That means Austria is going to be one of my continents coming up.
Yep.
Yes, it's going to be one of my continents coming up. I spoke
Spoken
it into existence. And when you translate this, Austria, I did speak to you. Italy, UK, all of UK, Scotland. I will be visiting Scotland soon one day. I don't know when, but I'm coming. America. Yeah, America. I know y'all gonna be like, how can you forget America? How can you forget America? I didn't forget you. I just made you wait. And all you people in those continents. And since it's Black History Month, I want to say all of the people in American Africa, and since y'all call us African Americans, American Africa, that's the motherland. Y'all go check out the podcast too. I do want to visit Ghana one day, not just Ghana, but I want to visit all of Africa. I do want to put that on my list. I am putting that on my list. I'm putting it on our list because when the Hell I Don't Know podcast and the Tedyism media outlet comes to visit and the Tai Chi Productions come to visit, we're coming on a tour and we're coming through Africa. So when we come through there, y'all come show some support. I spoke it into existence and it's going to happen. I don't know when, but it's going to happen.
Yes, you did.
Right now, you can follow us on all formats. Later on in the show, Miss Tai Chi Productions, a Wonder Woman in herself, will give you all of her information. Now, let me get to what I do best. Again. Right now, it's funny the second time.
It really is.
It's funny the second time, Lisa. Actors be like,
Unseen.
Right now, I want to introduce you all to a Wonder Woman in herself, a veteran of the a veteran in her own right of the wonderful U.S. Marine Corps. Thank you for your service. Appreciate you going through that. Since, like I said, this is a month of history. She is the first African American master trainer for Pound Fitness. You will find out what Pound Fitness is here in just a few moments. She is successfully certified in holistic fitness. You will also find out what a holistic fitness wellness coach is. She is a graduate of Full Sail University down in Orlando, Florida. Full Sail, you may also know, was famous because that is one of the birthplaces of WWE. They used it for a few years, but now they're on their own. But it's still a good college to go to. Go check it out. She has a degree in entertainment business. She is currently studying marketing from Strayer University. She's actually studying once we, in between our sessions here, since the devil keeps wanting to play with us. Now, this is important that you all listen to this. She is a dynamic, amazing co-host of not one, not two, not three, soon to be 4, 5, 6. Award-winning nominated podcasts. We're going to give you those names of those podcasts in our dialogue here. We give you in a few seconds. And a producer of not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, use my hand still, not six, but soon to be seven, eight, nine, 10 shows in total. She is also
Mhm.
finding time to run, as you heard me mention earlier, Tai Chi Productions, acting and modeling. Let me just add a little bit more because it doesn't seem like her plate stops getting full. As much as the table continues to get longer, you can continue to put food on it. She is a community communications coordinator for Veterans Bridge Home, a Charlotte based nonprofit organization helping veterans thrive in the Carolinas. One of the most important things I can tell you all is she is a mother. I introduce to you all Ty.
Hey, thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Again, it
Yeah.
was so
Again.
beautifully done. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Hey,
Thank you for having me.
for a second time. So it was beautifully done a second time. So it's that much more magnificent because I added a little bit more to it.
You did.
Ty, I want to
So thanks for
appreciate you
having me.
taking the time out to be here again. They're gonna be like, why they keep saying again? With this, in the podcast, in the podcast world, y'all think that it's all salads, desserts, and everything, but it's a lot of meat
Mm,
that get cut out. That all the
whew.
fat that y'all see, that y'all don't see, that's what we deal with. We trim it up,
Yep.
make it real good, and all y'all hear is the goodness. But when y'all don't see the
Hmm.
nastiness, and because you can be done recorded 2, 3 hours of good stuff, and next thing you know, your laptop crash. You don't want to hear nothing about that.
No.
Whew. How you doing today, Ty?
I mean, I think the bigger question is how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm blessed and highly favored. It's better to be above the ground than to be under. So,
I know that's
I'm
right.
good. I'm good. There is nothing that can steal my joy. Nothing that can
Good,
steal
good.
my joy.
Love that
Uh,
attitude.
you know how this goes. That's the first question. I appreciate you checking on me. How are you doing
Of
mentally?
course, of course. Mentally,
I just feel like you want to ask me all these questions.
I mean, mentally, I'm good. I'm at an 8.5. It's fine. We're doing this again, but you know what? That gave me time to do put some Instacart orders in. So now I'm watching out that the doorbell don't ring and the dog don't start barking because I should have been in the studio, not at the house. But hey, it is what it is. But I'm good. I'm about an 8.5 with my mental health at the moment. By 8.5, maybe even a 9, maybe even a 9.
So that break helped us because earlier you was at 8. So
Mm,
the break
it
helped us. So
did.
you went up. So that worked out. That
I
worked
did.
out.
I got a piece of chicken. I got some water. I got some hugs from a kid, and I put my Instacart order in just that
Oh,
quick.
look at that. See
Two
that's how
different
you
Instacart
managed
orders,
it.
so I'm good.
Chicken hugs and food. So yeah.
Right.
Besides chicken hugs and food, how else do you manage your mental health?
I manage in what what people call self care. And I hesitate to use that word because people I feel like have taken that word out of context
Mm.
and they're doing crazy things in the name of self care. Um, my self care is more of just unplugging because I'm always doing something, and it means that I'm doing absolutely nothing. It could mean most of the time my self care is taking an Epsom salt bath in the tub for at least an hour or until the water's gone cold or I fell asleep and had to wake up. Watching something ridiculous with a glass of wine. It could be playing The Sims, which is my guilty pleasure. Because who plays The Sims as long as I play The Sims? But I'm not thinking about all the 8 gazillion things I've got on my plate at the moment. I'm just kind of able to bring it back down and do something for me that makes me feel good and then go back to all the other stuff I got to do.
So how often do you get those moments to where you can just be Ty and just in Ty's own world where no one else, well, except one person exists.
Yeah. I've had to make those moments. I've tried to shoot for having 3 baths a week. It's not really worked out that way lately, just because I've had so many different deadlines. But I try. On the back end, when I'm unable to do that, I have been doing a better job with waking up and reading instead of waking up and scrolling. Or before I go to bed, because I try not to watch things before I go to sleep. At least reading a book for pleasure for a few minutes. That's, if I don't have the time for an Epsom salt bath because it's my bedtime, I can at least sit there and read something for a bit.
I listen to audiobooks when I'm uh, going to the grocery store. When I'm on the road, I'll put an audiobook in. So
Mm.
each
Mm.
year, I increase my audiobooks. Last year I did 21. So this year I want to
Oh,
do at least
wow.
23. And it's
Mm-hmm.
different each time. Um, I think right now, I think I'm listening to, what's it called? Let me pull it up. She Persisted, an audio collection of volume one. It has a bunch of different authors in it based
Hmm.
on the best selling picture book series that Chelsea Clinton wrote. And right now I'm on um, Miss Virginia Apgar is the
Hmm.
person of interest I'm listening to about now. And it's a
Huh.
audio collection of, I think, about six different women.
That's cool.
The first one
You
was
know,
Harriet Tubman. I mean, we've heard about Harriet throughout our
that's
lives, so
cool.
I think it was like $12, $13, and then it's like Claudette Colvin. So it's a bunch of people that I've heard about, but I never really uh, did a bunch of research on. So I like to listen
Mm.
to different audiobooks. And the other one is Marcus Aurelius Meditations. So I listen to
Mm.
a bunch of different variety of audiobooks because that's my research for podcasting. So I want to hear how people talk, and I want to hear how they interview people. I want to hear how they answer questions because it's a benefit for me to be able to hear just how other people are doing it, and I take that into consideration when I'm interviewing people. With that being said, let me ask you, who is Taisha Van Buren compared to who Ty is?
Oh, that's a great question because
I had to ask it different because
it's
you
two
already
people
know.
but the same.
Yeah, yeah.
um, so let me start by saying the difference between Taisha and Ty. Also, to get to the answer, includes my stage name. I went from people have called me Taisha or Ty my entire life, but I started going by Ty the older I got because I don't like when people mess up my name. Like Taisha isn't super complicated, but whatever.
To some it
Um,
is.
to some it is. I was married for all of my 20s, and as I got older it was just like I'm tired of making my ex-husband's name kind of famous, and it's no dig to him, we're great friends and great co-parents, but he my thought process was he may get remarried one day and I don't want there to be a confusion, so let's just do a stage name. And I couldn't figure it out, and then I just remembered, well, why don't I just do Wonder? Because I've had an obsession of Wonder Woman as long as I can remember. And I had to ask myself, why am I obsessed with Wonder Woman? Like, where did that even come from? And I realized that the essence of who she is, the foundation of what she's supposed to be about, or what she was created for, was a character built in honesty, truth, loyalty, love. That's who she is. And that makes her a magical character, and that's one of the things that I love about her, and those are ironically enough the things that I try to embody as a person. Just always living in truth and working in integrity and loving people. So Taisha is who my family knows. That's more of the intimate person that people know. The people that I know intimately, I should say, family members, uh, close friends I've had forever. Ty is who everybody gets, and the main difference is one is the level of access. Um, the only time people that don't have that level of access call me Taisha, I'm usually in trouble.
That's that mom call.
Or
Tice, get
something
in here.
questionable's happening, right? And I hear Taisha, I'm like, ooh, not the government. What did I
Yeah.
do? But that's the main difference. Is Ty is a different. Taisha is that access point that everyone doesn't get. Everyone just doesn't get the full love of Taisha, but you get the essence of her with Ty.
Okay, that's understandable. Um, we talked about something the first time that I want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure gets caught this time, and that was
Mm-hmm.
the mental health from our culture. And I brought
Mm-hmm.
up that it's a stigmatism from a male point of view that we don't have feelings and that we don't cry and that we go through things too. And from your perspective, how does it look when you hear those assumptions that well, men don't have feelings, men don't do that, men don't do this? Because you're raising a daughter, what type of lessons are you teaching about mental health to her?
That's a great question. First of all, I always operate in the space of pro therapy. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy. I love that people now, especially in our culture, are feeling free and open to not only go, but to talk about it. Because unfortunately, there's so much trauma that's embedded in our DNA. Like we can have issues that we don't even understand why we have those issues. And we can't get that unlocked until we go to therapy. As far as men go, I've always said after my ex husband and I divorced, I can't date a man that won't go to therapy, nor can I date a man that's too afraid to cry or he feels like that's not a man thing to cry. Like, no, you were made a human being and not a robot. You have tear ducts for a reason and they should work. And if you don't feel like you can make them work, then there might be another problem that I can't. But as far as mental health with my daughter, we have very candid conversations about mental health because she's growing up in a different time where
Mm.
social media negatively affects mental health of these kids. She's 12, so she's kind of in that. Um, Let her tell it. She's definitely a tween, or she's already a teenager, but whatever. Um, but they're doing research already of finding how social media is affecting these babies' mental health, and I have candid conversations with her about my mental health and what my struggles have been like. I try not to let her know like I may not be having a great day, but I'm never above letting her see me cry. She's definitely seen me cry. She's seen me upset, and for every time she's seen me crying upset, she's seen me say, okay, well, you know what? I got my cry out that day. It's a new day. Let's go. I'm good. You know, um, and then have the conversation of what could have possibly been wrong, in a kid friendly way, just to help her understand, like, hey, it's okay to not be okay sometimes for a minute, and just cry it out until you feel better. Just sit quietly until you feel better. But it's not okay to never tell somebody that you know is there for you that, hey, I'm not having a good day today. Can you just sit with me? Can you listen? Can you just hold my hand? Can you just check on me in an hour? And she's been that champion I've heard at school with checking with kids' mental health and just, saying, hey, are you okay? You sure you're okay? You all right? Okay. So,
That's amazing. And that's the purpose of my three questions. So, how's it going
mhm,
with you? How's your mental health? And how do you manage that? Because as I ask those questions and start the dialogue between uh, my guests, whoever it may be, I'm also starting the
mhm,
dialogue for people to listen to how it actually starts. People don't really
absolutely.
know how much of an impact they make on someone when they just simply say, "Hey, how are you doing?" Not saying anything else, but just "How are you doing?" And they go about their way.
Right.
And then as you're going to I speak to people. I can use myself for a reference. I speak to people all the time,
Mhm.
whether I know them or not.
Mhm.
I'm just walking, and I'm like, "Hey,
Mhm.
how you doing?" And I'll just keep going. And whether they say something back or not, it's not up to me to judge whether they say something back, because to me, I've done what I needed to do. Just speak. So if they go
Right.
back and I mean, why did he speak to me? Why did he do that? Then that's on them. For me, my good judgment, my good nature, or Southern hospitality, as they call it, is
Mhm.
me just speaking, holding the door, open the door, uh, just helping someone if they drop something, pick up the bag or something like that. Then that's my good deed. That's me paying it
Right.
forward because that's what my parents showed me. So
Right.
that's how I'm helping a person that may be going through something, but don't know how to ask for help. And so
Yes.
by me just showing up, and well, not just showing up, it's not like I'm standing around the corner like somebody need help. Ooh, there goes somebody need help. But that's how you can help without being a burden on someone who is afraid to ask it, because people burden
Mhm.
themselves by letting their pride get in the way instead of moving their
Mhm.
pride out of the way and just asking for that help. It's a bigger stressor when your pride is your stress and your pride comes from you. I appreciate you answering that.
Absolutely.
Since we're talking about stress, uh, why
Mhm.
did you join the Marines?
That's a great question.
Now we had a truce. You can't talk about the Army.
It's a great question. Honestly, people ask me that all the time. Like, really, you was in the Marine Corps? I was a Navy ROTC. Don't know why. Oh, I know why. I went in ROTC because I didn't want to do gym. I didn't like gym growing up. And I'll never forget first class. They're showing us a video, and I saw the Marine Corps band, and I was like, like that's so cool. Like that's my plan B. And it was one of those things that could have, like, I had other options. I had full ride offers. For me personally, it didn't seem like it made the best sense for me and my family. Um, which my mother was always conflicted about and probably still is to this day. So the with it being my plan B, of course it was a conversation. Well, maybe you should go in the army. I grew up outside of Fort Gordon, and I was like, yeah, nah, because if I go into the army and get stationed at home, I'm a no. Mm-mm. Um,
You're a
the
Georgia peach.
Navy. I'm technically a Sweet Carolina girl, but I grew up right on the border, so
Okay.
I'm a
Okay.
Georgia Lina girl, is what we call it.
Okay.
Georgia Line.
Jelana. You're Jelana. Yeah. Gotcha.
So that was a no for the army for me. And then the Navy, they said they would cut my hair, and at the time I had really long, flowing hair, and it was like a no. And I was like, hey, Marine Corps is what I want to do anyway. And then I had someone told me that I couldn't do it, and I was like, well, I'm going to the Marine Corps now because you said I couldn't. So here we go. I love a good challenge.
Uh,
Clearly.
and at the time you went, it was a challenge because it's not like what it is now. It's not like
Mm-mm,
the Marine Corps always accepted females, and that then not just
mm-mm.
that, but you were a black female. So it's
As
not
a
like
black
it was
female.
one of those easy roads to pave, but because of that
Mm-mm.
road, a lot of females are able to go through now. I'm not saying it's easier, but it's probably easier because of all of the
It's
females that
definitely
came
easier.
through. So
Yeah.
thank you for your service and making the road that less harder for those who are walking it now. They may not
Thank you.
understand it, but I do.
Yes.
um, I need to mention this again because the name of this episode is Tie
Mm-hmm.
That Up. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like that name, and I didn't really tell you how I came up with it because I was looking at the name of your three podcasts, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, the one that deals with uh, uh, sexuality, and I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
said her name's Tie. Tied it up. Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day coming up. I want to call the episode Scam for Love. It still got love in it. So if
Uh,
I say tie that up, we can talk about tie that up, Scam for Love, love, the freakiness that everybody else do. Tie that up. Everybody's just gonna die. They gonna flock to it. So the
yep.
name of this episode is Tie That Up. So as y'all listening to
Hmm.
this, uh, take it how you must because Valentine's Day is coming up. So take it how you must, but
Yep.
get something from this episode. Uh,
Yep.
let's talk about 2005. That's when you became the first uh, of a pound fitness expert. How did
It
that
was
come about?
2015. It was 2015, but yes.
It was
Oh,
2015.
it was 2015. Yes,
Okay.
2015. I just got out of the Marine Corps in 2005. I'm older than I look. Um, great question. I'm gonna try to make a long story short. I was not like a fitnessy person ish. I was, but I wasn't. Like I can remember as a kid putting in the VHS tapes of Billy Blanks uh, and Crunch VHS tapes. But when you're in the Marine Corps, you have a certain weight standard, and when you get out and you've been neglected all the pasta and cheesecake and rice and everything else that you couldn't eat for 4 years, you eat it in
Mhm.
abundance. And not finding a purpose to work out, because my purpose previously to work out was for my job. And so it was no longer part of my job, nor was playing the flute. So it was just things I didn't do. And I look up and, I blew up literally. So I got it off thanks to the power of dance, and I did some semi-pro cheerleading slash dancing. That was cool. And then we relocated from Eastern North Carolina to Northern Virginia. From there, gained weight again because now I'm in new city. The pace is way different, and got it off again thanks to dance. Had a kid. Of course, I gained weight having a kid, and I woke up 2 days later um, after I had came home with my daughter. Well, she might have been about 2 months old, and I rolled over and looked at my ex husband. I said, "I feel like I'm dying," and he thought I was over exaggerating, and I was like, "No, I literally feel like I'm dying." In retrospect, now I understand I was probably going through a sugar crisis because my sugar was all out of whack because I was eating a lot of McDonald's and Taco Bell and sugary everything. So my remedy was, well, since dance was my thing and that helped me get my weight off, I'm gonna be a Zumba instructor. And my ex husband again looked at me and was like, "You don't like people, so I'm not sure how that's gonna work, but go for it." So I promise I'm going somewhere with this story.
That's
So
okay.
that's what I did. I, sat in the back of the room, didn't even take any pictures to become a Zumba instructor. I just kept practicing at it and end up really fostering a relationship with my master trainer, who was the second African American master trainer that Zumba had ever had. And I mentioned to her that, hey, I'd love what you do. Like one day I want to do what you do, not in a spirit of competition, but just being able to truly educate people on the love of movement and fitness and how it makes them feel, and inspiring them. Like I loved it. And she said to me, well, it's not an easy thing because it's not a lot of us. Look around. And she was right. She was only the second by a few years. The first one was, still there. But we were definitely a minority. And I started looking at other platforms, and it was the same thing. I met and trained with the first Black master trainer for Piloxing, and she said the exact same thing. So I said, well, hey, I'll figure out what it is that I'm supposed to do when it's supposed to happen, because I know that I want to inspire people to find the love for fitness. I just don't know what platform. And I grudgingly ended up taking a pound class because it was the only thing that was on my schedule for at a fitness convention, and fell in love with it. A year later, applied to be a master trainer, didn't get it, cried like a baby, Second year, I applied again and got it and became the first. And I was there first for 2 years, traveling the country, inspiring people and leaving them what I call Tedyisms, which was really cool. And we parted ways, and I no longer teach the platform, but I have spoken to the now second African American master trainer for Pound. And, she's thanked me because when you're the first of anything, everybody has to learn. There's a learning curve because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And one of the things that they didn't think about, just because they were based from out of the West Coast, one of the things they didn't think about, unfortunately, is racial attitudes. And you send a black, full figured woman with crazy hair to the middle of Alabama, it doesn't always go that well. Um, and that could be challenging. And the young lady who's now the second black master trainer, she had mentioned like there's some places they just will not send her. Even if she's requested, they won't send her there. And I said, well, good. I'm glad they learned. So that was the story of
So
where Pound came
you're what's called a
from.
trailblazer, whether you admit it or not. Uh, you're the first at a lot of things, and it causes the path not to be as hard for the next person coming. Um, Even
Thank
when you're
you.
not doing it, other people still understand who you are because you're the first one to do it. Uh, it's kind of like
Thank
your shirt says you are vibrating through the waters because you're that pebble shaking up calm waters for other people to be able to see. You still can
you. I
cross.
love it.
You just have to take your time.
I love it. Well,
Which
thank you.
brings me
Thank you for that.
to uh, the me experience.
Hmm.
What is the me experience for those who don't know what it is?
That's my newest baby. So it's hard to just give a direct answer with any of these type of things. There's always a story involved. Um, I already kind of gave you the background of how I stumbled into fitness, just to trying to figure out who I was and not be overweight and miserable after getting out the Marine Corps. But in that whole process, I was taking the class called Flaunt, which is no longer in existence, and it was a mixture of Pilates and exotic dance. And I thought it was the coolest thing on the planet because it it had movement, but it also made me feel sensual, which was not something that we don't taught. And as you get older, you lose it, with women because we get in relationships, we have kids, working, and we just don't think about what sensuality means. Um, I hope you don't hear my dog. I'm sorry. I should have went to the studio.
Dog? No, what dog?
You don't hear him? Okay. So he's probably barking at the
I
Instacart
don't hear no
person
dog.
that's
I
doing
don't hear no
delivery
dog.
number one. Okay. So I after taking this program, I was trying to be cute, show my ex husband a little something something, and kicked him square in the nose. True story. Just messed up the whole mood. Thankfully, he laughed. He get mad, but it was a light bulb moment of ooh, we have to like learn how to do this. It's not just something you just do and just say, hey, I'm gonna do a fan kick with my leg over here and make it look sexy for, my partner. Um Also around that time, I was approached by a lady that was like, hey, have you ever thought about doing a chair fitness class? And I was like, no, but that sounds cool. I want to do it. And so I studied it to do some stuff for her at her studio. And I realized that there was just a gap there of fitness with women and things that make us feel sensual. Like, of course, there's stuff for us, but women, what helps women embody the sensual creatures we were created to be? Women and men move differently. And so, what's there for us? So I had this idea of creating something that included dance and Pilates with sensuality, but I let it just kind of sit and fester in my brain because I'm the first African American master trainer for Pound Fitness. I can't come up with something sensual based right now. And when we parted ways, it was like, well, now's the perfect time because I've got the momentum and I understand how things work. I understand the psychology behind fitness a whole lot clearer. And so I created the Muse experience and started deploying it at a fitness retreat 2 years ago. And then shortly after, at the time, I was teaching at a pole fitness studio here in Charlotte, and there was an opening for a class, and it was like, hey, why don't you teach Muse? And it was one of those things I did it scared because um, I have a terrible habit of helping to grow everybody else's babies, but not my own. And man, the end result of seeing so many women come through those doors week after week, watching them grow from women that were just kind of in the background to the here I am today. It was truly a beautiful experience. Watching them perform, and they never thought in a million years they would perform something and feel free with moving their body in a sensual manner. It was amazing. So we are deploying it online here soon, and then starting to take it across the country with different workshops. So that is the Muse experience, helping women to be their own muse before they're anyone else's.
That's an amazing journey. The second time hearing
Thank
it, but I
you.
love hearing it each time, which leads me
Thank
to
you.
another question I have. Did the music experience uh, give birth to Tai Chi Productions, or did Tai Chi Productions
It's
give birth to music experience?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah, you thought I had all of them given to you the first time, didn't you?
um, Tai Chi Productions definitely came first, but it was an expensive hobby for a long time. The Muse Tai Chi Productions did help me know that if I could do that, I could do the Muse experience. Like I could, if I could create this and I can make this, I can make that too. Like why can't I? Because who's gonna tell me I can't? You tell me I can, I'm definitely gonna do it. So you know, let's go. But one didn't create the other, and that's a whole nother unique story with where that came from.
What does it take to create a production company for
Oh
those
man,
that are
tenacity.
thinking about it doing? What does it take to actually go through? Because you'll tell yourself no before someone else does, because you think, hey, I don't think I can do this.
All the
So
time.
before someone else even gets to you and be like, Ty, you can't do that, you've already had that thought yourself. So you've already told yourself
Mm-hmm.
no. But
Mm-hmm.
what actually uh, can you tell the people that goes into, without having to go into a bunch of detail, uh,
Mm-hmm.
what goes into just creating the production company?
Oh man, first of all, you got to have some tenacity and some
Tenacity. You got to know some big
tenacity.
words, people. You got to know big words. The first thing is you got to know big words. Tenacity.
Oh my
Get your education
gosh.
up, okay? You got to have tenacity. Tenacity Productions. You heard it here first. Start your company, say Tenacity Productions.
Oh my goodness, that is hilarious. You definitely have to have tenacity, because the thing about a media production company is it includes technology, and technology changes every day, and it is expensive.
That it is.
And if you're not prepared for, you have to be prepared for the moments of, oh shoot, this isn't working right.
Hmm.
How can I switch this up?
Man,
Like,
it's like that just happened.
right. You've got to know how to be cool and calm for what could possibly go wrong, and then know, okay, well, if A don't work, I got B, C, and D, and then after that, like I'm just gonna have to figure something out on the fly. But like I can only do what I can do. Or otherwise it's a hell I don't know. Like um that's what that's the main thing I would start with. Second is figuring out what it is that you feel is your niche to produce. I think when I first started out, everyone just assumed they hear production company and they think feature films. And it's like, oh, that's cool to do. It takes a lot of work. Um, I'm not opposed to doing it, but there's a million other things I could be doing. And I'd rather do that right now until I'm not a three-piece operation. So I had to learn very early on of how to say no and not overextend myself, which is extremely difficult. But to learn what my purpose was and what I wanted for what media production looked like for Tai Chi, not everyone else.
The I think people put a lot of focus in what should I call it? The name is easy to come up with. It's the work on the backside of the name that people don't look at because you can come up with a
Mm-hmm.
name with no problem. They
Mm-hmm.
putting in the work to see if that name has been taken. Okay, change a letter in it. The name is no problem, but it's the work that goes into the company that you're trying to run
Absolutely.
that I don't think a lot of people is ready for. They want it, but they're
Absolutely.
not ready to do the work. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and at that point, it's you versus you, because when it
Mm-hmm.
fails, it's you. Um,
Right. Right.
I have a quote I want to read to see your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Love comes when you dare to reveal yourself fully, when you dare to be vulnerable. From Miss Joyce
Mm-hmm.
Brothers. What do you think about that quote?
I think that now listening to it a second time, the word
Again.
vulnerable keeps sticking out to me again. Um, vulnerable, it hit different this time. I'll say that. Vulnerable keeps sticking out to me because I've learned, um, it's, well, I can't even say since my divorce, even being married, um, you have to learn how to be vulnerable to love. Like we think love sounds great and the idea of, marriage and relationships, all of it sounds great, but the hard part is in the vulnerability, even with having communication. Like people say that's the leading cause of divorce, but now that I think about it, I think a lot of it is because we don't ever open ourselves up to love and know that even if we love, we may lose, and that's okay because there's always a risk with everything, and love is no different. So I think that that's where we go wrong a lot of times in relationships is we're just not ready to be vulnerable. We have to figure that part out first.
I think vulnerability for some is scary
It
because they
is.
don't know they can't control it.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Uh, as
definitely.
as long as they have it in Pandora's box, they can control it. But it's when they open
Mm-hmm.
Pandora's box that they don't know exactly what's going to pop out. Vulnerability is coming out, but you don't know what's coming out with it. And it's at
Right.
that moment
Right.
that uh, it's out of their control because you've given it to this person, and you're afraid of how they're going to handle it because you're thinking of all other situations and hey, take care
Mm-hmm.
of that. Make sure you take care of this. Take care of this. Do this. Do this. Do this. But at the same time, you're not handling your own vulnerability that you still have in your control. Uh,
Right.
that's the piece that I look at when I say love comes when you dare to reveal yourself fully, and
Mm-hmm.
when you dare to be vulnerable. Because, like you said, vulnerability sticks out to a lot of people. So when they hear that, they're like, "Man, vulnerable. I ain't being vulnerable. I can't do that." It goes back to the
Right.
mentality thing. Uh, Depending on where you're from, you don't even say words like that. You don't show emotions, period.
Right.
And it goes back
Right.
to what you said. Uh, Men cry. Go ahead and let them tears out.
Mm-hmm.
Women cry. Let them tears out. That's how you heal yourself.
Right.
I I ain't gonna lie. I'll be sitting here watching the TV show and I'll be like, man, what? Man, why did that happen? because you know I'm in tune with the emotions now. So
Right.
and a good story has you thinking about something in your life and has you thinking about, man, what is this trying to tell me? Instead of missing that lesson, you're looking at it like, man, might be something that I may need at some point or something that I need to tell someone. Uh,
Right.
that's how I learned that a broken heart still beats. Because as I
Mm-hmm.
saw my heart shattered into a million pieces, I also saw, hey, this may be a moment that I can start healing myself for me to be able to tell other people how to do it. Uh, I got the quote. I put it on the shirt that a broken heart still beats, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
message that you get when you've been through that moment. And as you've been through
Mm-hmm.
that moment, you're like, man, I appreciate that because you're reading. You like, I appreciate that because everybody's been through that broken heart moment. I'll say this again: it's not that your heart is broken, but it's that your memory no longer gets to get those memories, which is the stressor because you're thinking about it so much. And as you're thinking about it so
Right.
much, that stress goes down to your heart, which causes your heart to hurt. So that's where that comes
Mm-hmm.
from. That's where I get the a broken heart still beats. That is a Tedyism, and it's copyrighted. If you use it, give me my credit. Thank you. Anything
I
that Ty
love it.
says and I say is copyrighted, give us our credit. That's the least you can do. Share it on Facebook,
I know that's right.
Instagram, wherever you share it. Give us our credit.
Give us our credit. I know
Yes.
that's right. I know that's
Uh,
right.
I say that all the time. I was like, give me my credit. Um,
Right.
let me cover the first warning sign. It says, beware of people asking for personal information right off the bat. With you being
Mm-hmm.
a media guru and studying marketing,
Mm-hmm.
scamming is one of the things that you can avoid. Um, in your
Mm-hmm.
personal life and in your production company life, how often do you try to avoid scammers? Or how often do
Man,
you
I
see
avoid
them?
them like the plague. Oh
Yeah.
man. First of all, I got a stiff arm. Oh, you can't see my whole arm. Like, um
Wow.
got a stiff
Yeah,
arm.
NFL running back.
Um
Wow. Get that to your face.
you see him a lot. It's and I don't want to sound like I'm being snooty booty or trying to hype myself up because I'm not. But it's easy to be like, oh, okay, well, she's got a pretty face. Oh, wait, she's got a production company. Oh, wait, she's into like sensual fitness. Ooh, um, no, and I had to realize very quickly, probably thanks to being a master trainer for Pound, that there's always going to be hangers around that's trying to ride the wave, and they're in it for whatever they can get out of you. And when it's come to potential suitors, it's the same thing. They're looking at what they can get out of the deal, and I've
And
had
if they can cry
to.
on contact, and if they can cry on, girl, you know, I heard you on that Hell I Don't Know podcast. You say you like a guy that can cry. I could, you touched my heart with that one.
Look, I even learned. I even learned in one of my podcasts. I've talked about my dating life because, well, shoot, two of them, but specifically one of them. I've had men say to me, "Well, I want you to talk about me on your podcast, sir. First of all, I don't even know you, like so."
It's just the way you cut that.
Like,
It's just the way you cut that off, like he was standing there, like, sir. First off, I don't even know you. How did you get in my house right now? Okay, how did you get in my house right now? You see, I'm working right now, huh? Oh, okay, wait your turn. Okay. Matter of fact,
it
Teddy,
feels
can you
like
edit
that
this out?
sometimes.
Edit that out. Edit that out. We're gonna cut that dude out right now. Like Google, just take him on out.
It feels like that sometimes where I just want to be like, you know what, but on a serious note, I don't think I said this the first time. I am a domestic violence survivor and advocate. And one of the things that I learned in therapy is that when people ask too many personal questions up front, they're really just trying to figure out how they can use that information to manipulate you. And that red flag goes way over our head. We think, oh, they're just really interested. No, they're trying to figure out
Not all the
how they
time.
can, well, you said this, and well, if they said that, then I could use this because that's going to appeal to them. And then, then they got you hooked. So, you don't need to know my deepest, darkest secret
Mm.
fear, what I ate 3 days ago. Like, you don't, that's too much. You don't need to know that. We got time. You can learn me and ask. Let's start with, what's your favorite color? Although I'm so sick of asking that question, but let's start with, what's your favorite color? What'd you want to be when you grow up? Like, can we just start there? Not what's your bank account? What's your favorite position? Like, whoa, 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 whoa. I
I
just
mean,
I don't even know you.
maybe they can ask you a question like, "Do you teach raccoons how to play the flute or the piccolo?"
I'm not gonna lie, that question would make me go, what? But I would be intrigued of where that came from.
Oh my goodness, I had to add that in there.
I was going to say that inside joke is not fair to everybody else, but it was still hilarious. I'm just saying.
Oh my goodness,
It
it was just funny. You like, what this raccoon? Is that a raccoon?
was right out the window. Like, you ever seen those cats that look like raccoons because of the color and their tail? And I was like, a raccoon.
Yo,
And
you
it was
mean like,
just, it was out in the open, just chilling in my backyard. And I'm like, what in the world? Oh,
well,
it's a cat.
Pepe Le Pew pulled off a joke on everybody for years. So I mean,
Okay.
I mean, you was
That's
going off with the
wild.
question, so I thought I'd just throw it out there. Man, do you teach raccoons how to do play the flute and the piccolo? I heard on the podcast you do, so I thought that's one of the questions you like getting asked.
Hilarious.
Um, I want to ask something. Why
What's
is
up?
why do people have favorite colors? Why is that such a conversation starter? Once we get older, why do we care about favorite colors?
I'm gonna tell you why I do. I don't know about everybody else. I
Yeah,
ask
why
the
do you
question
care?
because it tells me it. I'm a little bit of a nerd, and there's a psychology behind why people like certain colors, and it says a lot about you. Anybody that likes a bold color, they're not going to be a timid person. If your favorite color is red, it's like, oh, okay, you like, power. You like, you have a lot of confidence. If you like black, it's like, okay, well, are you a dark person, or is it an easy color? Like, which one is it? So that's why I like to know. Or if you don't have a favorite color, okay, well, maybe you just don't like too much of anything. I don't know, but
Hmm.
it can be a good conversation starter and things to know about a person. You know.
There y'all go. All my favorite colors are my sports teams. I'm Chicago, so she black and red. Chicago Bulls, Chicago Bears, Chicago White Sox. So I'm in the crayon box. You bring me a crayon box. I'm like, girl, how did you know they're my favorite colors? So I'm
That's
just
hilarious.
I just think it's a question that nobody ever really asks because that's one of those
Yeah.
generational things. You're like, girl, ask him to see what his favorite color is, but nobody ever explained it. So uh, you pretty much went into warning sign two. Your date plans to
Mhm.
meet you, but needs to cancel because of financial emergencies, and they really don't
Mhm.
want to meet up as much as they say online, and then they what we call now ghost. Uh, their word is always a ghost because you be like, okay, yeah, no problem. Um, I've talked to some scammers, and they got those 20,000 questions up front, and then you ask them that
Mhm.
one question, and then all of a sudden they just ghost, and they're trying to get that information. And like I told you, I said, well, if you want my social security number, I'll give it to you because it's bad credit. So and you want my credit score? I'll tell you what it is. It's 293. Because if you after me for money, I'm gonna find out. I'm like, it's 293 credit score. What you want? Because you got to love me for me. You got to love me for me. You can't find out I got money, then all of a sudden be like, girl, he the best one I ever had. So I mean, you got to find out these things up front. It's like Creflo Dollar. He said, you got to ask these questions. What you want? What your mama name do? What your daddy name do? What your ex
Right.
husband do? You got to ask these questions.
Mhm. because it says a lot, even with when we talk about what was your longest relationship, which I know is not a question that a lot of people don't like, but it tells you a lot. If they say, well, you find out they've never had a relationship longer than a year, maybe you don't like commitment. But in retrospect, not in retrospect, but on the flip side, like in my situation, they asked, well, what was your longest relationship? I was married for 10 years. Clearly, I like partnerships because, I'm not 40 yet. So that's a long time. Most of my adult life at this point. So those are good questions to know. We don't ask. We ask all the wrong questions. Well, not we. I don't anymore. But when you're not ready to be vulnerable, you ask a lot of questions that are not necessarily irrelevant, but it doesn't help you learn the person to become open with them or
So you
yourself for that
mentioned your podcast. Um,
matter. Hmm.
Two questions. What are the name of those
Hmm.
shows? Well, the
Hmm.
three shows. And
Hmm.
what is your inspiration for the topics when you do those shows?
Great question. So the three different shows. The first one, which was my first baby, Tea Talk with Ty. That was my like a lot of podcasters starting in the pandemic, didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I clearly knew audio, and everybody's doing a podcast, and I can't go nowhere, so why not? Let's try it. It's evolved to a show that is focused on helping gold diggers go further. Gold, GOAL, not gold, gold. It's geared toward entrepreneurs, people with big dreams, big goals, and they're trying to do things and need some inspiration. Just kind of like having a tea with, sitting down having a cup of tea with your motivating bestie is how I see that show. And I come up with the topics from like real life experiences. What lessons did I learn in that situation? Like, how did I? We do talk about mental health quite a bit because if you have big goals, it affects your mental health.
You got to
Let's
learn how
just
to
be
have
honest, it
that
does.
added into your discussion too, because it's with big
Absolutely.
goals, they don't always go successfully as you want them, and that plays
Mm-hmm.
into your mental health because you're like, well, why didn't this work out? And if you don't have
Right.
that person to talk you through it or just listen to you, then it's like, man, it's not going to work out again. I don't want to do this. So that's why, for y'all that don't understand, that's why the mental health discussion is so important when you're dealing with goals,
Mm-hmm.
vision boards, whatever you want to call it. Uh,
Absolutely.
Sorry about that.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's where those topics come from. Is I use a lot of teachable moments things that I've learned, and I've been able to say, well, this was my thought, and what I learned with the situation. I'm sure it can help somebody. So that's how I come up with those. The Lies and Garbage show has been very interesting because it's evolved a few times as well, from three original co-hosts to two to one. Um, it's evolved to a show of figuring out what it is that the listeners really wanted to hear. Because when we started it, we knew it had that sensuality piece in there, but we didn't really know what else they really wanted. And I've discovered just like listening to the listeners, looking at the feedback, and obviously winning awards and being nominated for awards, the things that our listeners for that show love is sensuality, spirituality, and sexuality. So um, at first, it was trending topics, like trending things as it relates to Black culture, and then add a little bit of the other stuff on it. Now it's evolved into the show that it is, where it's a focus on those three components and adding the flowery stuff around that. Um, and then Let Me Holla at You, which is a very unique show in itself as well. That one I co-host with a guy that's like a brother of mine, Booker, and we created that show because we would have 3 to 4 hour long conversations if we didn't have a hard stop somewhere, and we would talk about everything from flowers to dogs to love to movies. And somewhere in those moments were conversations that is like, darn, this needs to be a bigger conversation. And so we created Let Me Holla at You to kind of bridge the gap. Like if you think about the conversations that people have in barbershops and the
Hmm.
conversations that women have in salons, they're real personal. They're around how it affects us as, a Black culture, but they're also very focused on how we feel as that particular gender. And so we look at it as bridging the gap between those two and bringing that conversation together. So we come up with our topics for that one a lot of the times just based on the listeners. They'll hear something, we'll say something about love or relationships, which is a lot of what our focus is, because our audience are around our age, late 30s, mid to late 30s, early to mid 40s, divorced. So the love and relationship piece happens a lot. And so we talk about things that we've heard. Our friends mention things that we've gone through. We've totally taken my, my experience with online dating, as that was a great episode. Um, we just kind of go with what we feel like the conversations that are missing between Black men and Black women.
See,
So,
that's the format that I like to run on my episodes. I don't like to just have men on here bashing men or women on here bashing men,
right.
women. Um, the real conversation happen when it's like you and I right now, because we can give the
Mm-hmm.
true perspective from both sides, and it's not like,
Right.
well, you know, y'all the dogs, y'all do this and y'all do this. Everybody does something. Uh,
Right.
with that being said, we've already talked about warning sign number three because of
Mm-hmm.
your degree in entertainment business and how people can stay
Mm-hmm.
educated on the scamming works.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
since you said you've already delved into online dating, that's covering pretty much of the first three warning signs. But what I want to ask is, when you get your topics, do you send out a request to the listeners as to, hey, what do you want to hear this week? Or should we talk about this? Is
Mm-hmm.
it like a poll, or is it just, okay, let's talk about this because I heard it here or I heard it there?
Um, a little bit of both. We tell people in our footer, leave us a message, send us a DM or whatever if it's something in particular you want to listen to. We will sometimes go out to social media and say, hey, what do you think about this? But a lot of times we go with our circle and ask our circle because we know they're listening. And those are the people that are impacted the most because they know us and they understand what we're trying to do. Um, because of that show and the way that we do it, we both have found that our friends will have conversations with other friends or with their spouses or partners or whatever, and then like, that's really different. Let me throw that at Booker or Ty and see what they think about that as a show, and then it's a great conversation between Booker and I of, well, I think it would be like this, and then of course, as usual with certain things, his opinion and my opinion differ, and it's like, that's a great conversation that we should have, and that's how we roll with our topics for that show.
That's the best episodes. I do not like episodes or shows where both hosts always agree on everything, because
Right.
it doesn't provide the perception for the audience to actually get two different
Hmm.
perspectives on it. Because if you're agreeing on everything, if we're doing the show and we're agreeing on everything, then how do you really know what I'm thinking if I'm just agreeing with
Right.
everything you're thinking, or if you agree with everything I'm thinking? Because there's people out there who need to know that, hey, we're doing this show and we're having disagreements, but we're still doing the show because disagreements are okay. We're not throwing
Right.
fisticuffs at each other like they do on most of the shows on Bravo and BET, but we understand that disagreements happen because we both have different opinions.
Hmm.
But you need to see that
Yeah.
inside of our different opinions, we're listening to what each other is saying, and asking the questions like, why do you see it that way? uh,
Right.
and I'm explaining it, kind of like the conversation we've been having now. I'm asking
Mhm.
questions like, "Well, why do you see it as so?" And you're asking questions
Mhm.
back. And when you have a conversation, it's both people are listening. It's not me talking
Mhm.
at you or talking to you.
Right.
It's us talking to each other. And I think that's what's missing in a lot of people's
I agree.
conversational per
Mhm.
circumference. Yeah,
Right.
conversational
Right.
circumference. Their circle is
Right.
only evolving around what they want to have in it and not what they need to have in it.
Mm. Mhm. That's
With that,
insightful.
yeah, with all that, it's also a Tedyism, so they can't use it. When you mention it, when you mention it to somebody, make sure you tell them, "Hey, I got that off that podcast."
I love it. I
I'm
love
big.
it.
I'm big
Yeah.
on pushing our stuff.
That's right. Because if we don't do it, no one else is gonna do it. Ask me
Yeah,
how I know.
that's the truth. Because hey, I'm in it for us all to win. So you know,
Right.
mm, um,
Right.
as we say that, then you know, it's if we can't back each other, then who else is going to do it? Because we're our
Mhm.
own worst enemy too.
Yep.
Because it's okay to bash the I don't really say black, white, Latino. I call them entities because I want to change the narrative of how we've always looked at things. So I call them entities because
Mhm.
it's already known that they're the colors and they're this. So I call them entities. But
Mhm.
I feel like we hold our own selves back. I've been wanting to do a show on culture for the longest,
Mhm.
but I haven't found the place to put it yet. That's what
Right.
I'm saying. I haven't found a place to put it yet. I have it, but I just haven't found a place to put it yet. And like I was telling you, when it's time for me to do it, then I'll do it. I don't want to rush it because
Mhm.
I don't want to rush it and have it be clickbait. And
Right.
I'm the type of person is they can't counsel me, I can counsel myself. So no matter what
I
I
know
say
that's
in my
right.
show, then it's
Mhm.
for you to hear. A lot of people try to counsel
Right.
people because they say something they don't like. So when I do my
Mhm.
show, it's going to be the perfect time for that show to be done, and I will have a panel of everyone and not just specific people because we all need to be heard. With that being said, I like to do on these shows is what I call
Mhm.
my show is the table. And as I'm the
Mhm.
table, everyone that comes is the seat. That's not a
Mhm.
disrespectful thing because as big as the table is, everyone that comes is a seat because we can stand up and argue, but we need to sit and talk
Right.
and listen. Uh,
Mhm.
and as I say that
I get that.
earlier, you know, I brought up that you work volunteer work at the Veterans Bridge Home. Um,
Mhm.
how did you get involved in that, and what are some of the issues you face inside of that realm?
Oh wow, that's a great question. I'm gonna try to keep it not super lengthy. I discovered Veterans Bridge Home because I was relocating from Georgia to Charlotte. It was one of those pick a city. I'm out. Let's go. Charlotte was it, and a counselor that I was working with, just trying to figure out schools and how everything works and stuff before I picked up and moved. Because you know, when you have a kid, you gotta be strategic. You can't just move in March. You gotta move like
Got to plan it out.
before school starts. You gotta make sure are they going to private school? Are they going to be in the right school district? You got to know. So I was trying to figure all of that out, and we Googled veteran services in Charlotte or something like that, and Veterans Bridge Home picked up or popped up. And I reached out. I spoke to a counselor. His name's Dwayne. Dwayne talked to me about an hour, telling me everything I needed to know about Charlotte and um, made me feel comfortable to understand how the Charlotte culture is, the different sides of town, you know, the school that I was looking at for my daughter to go to, you know, he's telling me he had been there before. It's a fantastic school. So I felt comfortable to move. And I said, you know, I appreciate you spending this much time with me because I don't know anyone in Charlotte. I'm just starting over. So as soon as I get settled, I want to come volunteer with you guys. And I try to be a woman true to my word. That's exactly what I did. And 3 years later now, they had a job opening, and I read the description and I said, did they write this for me? Because that is everything that I love to do. They wanted someone that knew how to go into the community and talk to veterans and service providers and um, handle social media and create social media content. And I said, well, I think I'm gonna go back to work full time if they hire me, because why not do something that I'm making a difference in my own community, especially. I made the decision shortly after I rebranded myself as Ty Wonder that my purpose was to educate, entertain, and inspire. And if it fit within those three boxes, I was going to do it. If it missed one, it's a no go. So looking at the whole piece of the organization, like it fit all of those boxes because um, I get to be me and be a goofball in my own way professionally. I get to create content. I get to actually create video and use a lot of my skills and what I do for Tai Chi Productions for this organization to help them grow and to help veterans because we have a unique sense of needs, and it's up to us to really help the community understand that our needs are different and why they're valuable the way they are. So I've been there now, I think 6 months as an employee, but 3 years as a volunteer, and I absolutely love it.
You said something that's magnificent that I don't think a lot of people will pick up. As veterans, uh, our needs are unique,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also unique because of the different gaps of VA services and how the
Mm-hmm.
VA has changed, and the VA homes and how the America takes care of its veterans. So that
Mm-hmm.
it's also unique in that aspect because as the age of veterans we're in, we're able to speak on what's now and also at the same
Right.
time connect with the veterans from yesteryear and tell them, hey, they have made some improvements. That's a
Mm-hmm.
conversation that's harder to have than most people see because most people just see, well, why are they doing that? Why are they acting like this? Uh, because of you have to also see a lot of things they went through. And so if you're not
Mm-hmm.
willing to sit down and have that
Definitely.
conversation, then you can't really see what they've been through. You can only see what you're looking, and you're getting the assumption of what you think they've been through.
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
Also, since COVID
Absolutely.
outbreak, a lot of the regulations for have changed because of how you can approach uh, most group homes, veteran homes like the ones you work at, and volunteer work have changed.
Mm-hmm.
You can no longer just before COVID, you can drop food off, drop clothes off. You can just drop a lot of that off.
Mm-hmm.
Can you
Mm-hmm.
speak on just from things you have saw on how some of that has changed, how hard it's gotten to just donate
Mm-hmm.
for like for Thanksgiving? You can't just drop food off anymore and just leave it there.
Right. 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 Definitely not. I could even remember as a volunteer that was a huge thing when COVID hit was how do we it was a oh crap moment because housing has probably always been one of the biggest needs that veterans need.
Still is.
But you start talking about the statistics of veteran suicide and the fact that all of a sudden the world is shut down, so everybody's isolated. You couldn't get to your mental health appointments. It was a moment to figure out for the VA to figure out how to make that work. You were no longer able to go to the gym or go to, your friends, and it was a rough moment for. I can only imagine for the full time employees. Me as a volunteer, it was like, okay, how do we make sure those statistics don't go past 22 because that's already high. And unfortunately, it did, but it was a moment of trying to figure out, okay, well, we can't do this, but what can we do? We can't drop off food, but we can, like, we found ways around it. I remember doing a few things where we, we did a lot of things outdoors, including our workout. So that way, um, it was safer for us to get together and work out outside. That way, everyone wasn't so isolated, and it was warm outside. But it was a rough moment then, but I think it taught us a lot of lessons about social enrichment, um, not just for veterans but for people,
Hmm.
because the rate of suicide got higher over COVID, and we have to realize that we were moving so fast before COVID that we didn't slow down to really focus on mental health. And I'm glad that, if nothing else from COVID, we really started having that conversation a lot more about what mental health and mental health resiliency look like. Because that isolation was rough for everybody, but especially those that were already struggling with
Not me. I don't have a problem
mental
staying
health.
in the house at all. At all.
I was fine with staying in the house. I really was. I
I
was
didn't
kind of
have to go
mad
to
when the
the
world
store.
opened back
I ain't
up.
have I ain't have to do none of that. And so, but at the same time, when COVID hit, I was overseas, so I was, uh,
Oh no.
yeah. But no, it was fine because at while everything was shut down here, I was overseas,
Mhm.
so I was funding. Like if a few of my family members couldn't work, so I would order things because they couldn't go to the store,
Mhm.
but I can order it off
Right.
Amazon and send it to the house.
Right.
Like for some reason, everybody wanted to buy up tissue paper. I don't know why everybody
That
ran
was
and bought
crazy.
tissue paper. Like
It was tissue and gas was
yeah,
the most hilarious thing ever.
and Lysol and stuff like that. So I would order I would order it off Amazon and send it home, or
Mhm.
I would go to the
Yeah.
PX and buy tissue paper and send it to the house. And so I was sending
Mhm.
enough to my mom them that she would give it to my niece and stuff like that. So I was funding the
Yeah.
best I could. So that's why I was glad that I was still overseas while COVID hit. And when I came home, they had already pretty much took care of uh, starting getting the vaccine because I knew a few of my buddies that was like, I don't trust it. I said, well, this is 2020. I said, so it's easier to get a vaccine now uh, because of the ease to understand the outbreak. I said, it's not 1970. You have more people that's accessible to work on things faster now. I said, I said,
Right.
that's how I look at it. I said, I've had COVID. I got it last year and I had the shot. And I'm like, man, because at first I wasn't going to get it. I'm like, man, I ain't taking that shot. But for me to see my family, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to get sick. And I was also looking at how people was dying from it too. I was paying attention, and it's a real
Right.
thing. For I don't
Mhm.
for all y'all that think it's not, it's a real thing. You
It's a
can't
real
walk up to
thing.
someone who's actually lost someone from COVID and say it's not because you're demeaning them because they lost a loved one from that. So
Absolutely.
it's still your choice to get vaccinated, but don't talk about someone who made that choice to take care of them and their families.
Yeah. Yeah. Because everybody has to do what's best for them. I think for me, I was so frustrated in that time period when the conversation first started happening about vaccines, because I hate that people feel like their choice is always the best choice.
Hmm.
Everybody has to do what's best for them. And in the holistic health coaching world, we call that bio individuality, which means what works for me may not work for you. And if that was another big word, I
The scientists, they just can't get to the point. They just why you just can't why they just can't say you being biased. It's bio individuality. Man,
bio
you biased.
individuality.
Man.
so so what works for you may not work for somebody else, and for some people the vaccine made total sense, for some people it didn't make sense. But I I always have an issue. It doesn't matter what it is. I have an issue when something doesn't directly affect you, but you feel like because your choice is different than someone else's, it makes you better than them. I don't like that. And that whole time period, 2020, was one of those years that it's like, That was a rough year. That was a lot going on, man. It really was. That talk about
Yeah.
mental health, man. That was a
I
year.
mean, I couldn't tell because I was looking at the news in
Whew.
Atlanta and they was partying down there like with nothing going on. I'm like, man, do they not
Atlanta
know?
was definitely partying.
Yeah, hot Atlanta was hot Atlanta. Well, they was kicking it
I
and partying
I
down
didn't
there.
want no parts. I ain't want no
Oh
parts.
no,
I ain't go out there for a long time because they love to party in Atlanta. They party.
yeah, yeah,
But like I remember
mm,
fussing at my mom because she's right on the border of Augusta. She's in North Augusta, and I would go visit and
home of the James Brown
um
Museum. Y'all go check it out.
home of James Brown, and
James Brown
I would
Museum.
go down there. I would go down there, and nobody got a mask on, and I'm like, "What are we doing? What are we doing? In North Carolina, you couldn't go anywhere without a mask on, but in the Augusta, they was partying, and I'm like, what is wrong with you people? I'm good, pass. But again, bio individuality, that was what was best for you. It's a hard pass for me.
Because the first thing I did when I came back from overseas, I went straight to see my mom and them. I said, I don't care if I got no shot.
Yeah,
I don't care if I'm vaccinated. I don't care if they vaccinated. I'm finna go see my folks. We just
right.
all
I'm
gonna be
gonna go
sick in the
see my
house
mama.
together.
I know
Uh,
that's right. Yeah,
so
my
covering,
baby brother was still he was overseas in Germany during COVID, and he got stuck there an extra year because they wouldn't let him come home. So that was rough. But when he got back, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to go see my mom, so I don't
yep.
care."
The one thing that I didn't it bothered me being over there because a lot of family
Hmm.
members died while I was over there, but the advancement of being able to FaceTime. So it wasn't as
Hmm.
bad as it would have been, let's say 2005 when there was no FaceTime, and so it
Right,
because I can always be like, hey, what y'all doing? Oh, okay, no problem. And so it's always I
right.
can FaceTime every day now. So there
Yeah,
wasn't as bad
FaceTime made that easier.
and that's what I tell a lot of people. I say, well, now you can FaceTime. You can call it any moment you want. But just 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you couldn't do that. You had to wait in line
Mm-mm.
and wait for the
Mm.
phone.
You still
I
had to
said,
wait till 9 o'clock,
yeah,
really,
yeah,
to
because
make a
everybody
phone
everybody in the
call.
state sleep. I used to call my mom and them in the middle of the night on purpose. What y'all doing? Oh, it's daylight over here. Get up. I never told him, but I wait till the middle of the night, like, what y'all doing? Sleep. What you mean y'all sleep?
So rude.
She probably hear this like, that boy. Um,
That's funny.
Warning sign number 4. Being veterans ourselves, we can attest to how
Hmm.
scammers are never that far away. But warning
Hmm.
sign number 4: uh, your match tries to move your conversation, immediately to text, or they really want to have conversations that you had today because they wanted to end it a certain way. Being with the veterans in the veteran home, they're always looking for love. It's easy for them to get scammed. And just as a mom, seeing what you've seen throughout your lifespan, what type of
Hmm.
lessons with the scamming are you passing down so your daughter's not constantly having to, well, she's going to deal with it, but she's more aware
Right.
of how to pay attention to
Hmm.
that
Ooh,
because it's
that's
the
a deep
cell phone age.
question.
So, it's always somebody like, hey, I'm your friend. I go to school with you and this and that. So, how
Definitely.
are you preparing her for that?
Definitely. I've had people disagree with this mindset, but me and her dad are okay with it, so really don't care. But the we both try to be as transparent and upfront with her as age appropriately as possible. What that means is, of course, she's never going to see like men coming in and out of the door. But I haven't been shy of if I was in a committed relationship and it didn't work out. Like I'm not going to hide that it didn't work out. My ex-husband got remarried and it didn't work out. They ended up getting divorced, and he didn't hide that, hey, things aren't okay, and then it was we're not together anymore. It was an open conversation, so um, she understood that just because you love someone doesn't mean that y'all are going to be together forever. And I think that was what was most important for us to learn to be able to teach her, because kids have, I mean, I know I did. You think, oh, you're going to fall in love and get married at, I don't know, 20, 21, 22, and be married forever and three kids and a dog and a picket fence, and all of that just comes naturally. And we don't hide the struggle. When there's a financial struggle, no, we're not going to tell her, well, hey, we might have 5 cents in a bank account. Not going to tell her that. But what we are going to say is, hey, I know you love Starbucks. We don't have Starbucks money right now. And if there's more of that conversation that we have to have of, well, we're saving for this, or, you know, this needed to be taken care of. Like when I had a car accident a little over a year ago, it was like, well, hey, we've got to get another car. So some of this stuff, like we have to shift it a little bit. I don't feel well enough to go sit and see Spider-Man, which was like almost a 2-hour movie. Like
Two and a half.
my
I
back's
went and
not
seen it.
right.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, my back can't handle that right now. But when it comes out on
Hmm.
DVD, I'll buy it for you. Or we can't afford to go here because we have to buy another car, and it's just preparing her that life just don't work out the way you want it to work out sometimes. And you can plan all you want to, but make sure you have a backup plan and a backup plan and a backup plan for the backup plan. But even still, sometimes things are just out of your control, and you just got to learn how to flow with it. And I feel like having that approach, like I said, some people don't agree with it because they feel like kids shouldn't see the struggle. Um, I feel like it's made her understand that life is not a fairy tale very early. So she's able to adjust, like watching her go through her first little heartbreak. And first little
No, I'm
right.
laughing because the way you did your head, like I've been there. It's high school. You won't even see him again after high school. You'll be okay.
Right, like to her it was real. It
Yeah,
was a heartbreak for
we've been
her.
there. So we've been there. So
Right.
it's
Right. Her first little heartbreak, and the first time her friends started, they not her friends no more, and they didn't turn on her. You saw it coming.
it's
It's
the
like,
end of the
okay,
world.
well, it's the end of the
Yeah,
world to them.
yeah.
But being able to be real with her, I could say, well, hey, do you remember when mommy had this friend, and then the friendship didn't work out? You see that person's not around anymore. You remember me crying about it, but you don't see me crying about it anymore. Like it'll get
Mm.
better. So we're both, we decided to just be very transparent, but keep her a kid as much as possible, but show her in a way that it makes sense. So, um, unfortunately, when I did go through a violent relationship, she didn't see. Thankfully, she didn't see as much as she could have seen. But being real with her was, you know, this is what you saw. This was not right. What you saw. This is why it's not right. Okay, so now what's next? Now let's go to counseling. Let's go to some therapy. Let's talk about it. Do you have any questions about what you saw? Do you know why what you saw was wrong? Um, because we think that kids don't understand things, but they are way smarter than we give them credit for. And that's, I feel like, is preparing her very well because she's bouncing back really really quick from these little heartbreaking moments that you get at her age.
I told my godson, one of them, I said, all these friends you got in high school, they ain't gonna be with you after you're gone. I said, I still know
I
friends
tell her
still
that
stay
all
in
the
my
time.
hometown. I said, cause I said, it's I said, if you got your girlfriend now, y'all break up, you'll never see her again. I said, you
Right.
might, but I
There.
said, so don't look at high school as the be all end all. I said,
Mm-hmm.
because there's going to
Mm-hmm.
be more chances for you to live after you get out of high school. I said,
Right.
I'm telling you
Right.
from
I've even
experience.
right. I've
So
even started prepping her with because I swear I'm not being biased. My kid is pretty amazing. And she set a goal to be the next Marseille Martin, and she's different, but she go be there. Um, Even prepping her with that, I said, hey, you're gonna have people that's gonna be hangers on in a minute. You got to remember who was there for you and who wasn't, who was mean to you and who wasn't,
mm-hmm.
because one of these days is going to be something that you have or something that you're doing that other people are gonna, they're going to want to be a part of it. You got to evaluate their intentions, because intentions is everything.
You got to always
And
remember those that checked on you when you didn't have nothing,
Yep,
because there's going to be a lot of people
definitely.
checking on you because you're about to have something.
hmm This is true. And then, um, what's the word I'm looking for? I had a complete brain fart.
Dilates,
Not Pilates, it's a bigger word. um,
they like
um,
they like what's Dilates?
Reciprocity. There we go. Reciprocity.
They're like what's
The season
Dilates?
of reciprocity. Pilates.
Like reciprocity, what's Dilates? He said Dilates, what's that? Um, so
I've been trying to teach her early about that too. Hey, you can't expect people to give back exactly what you give them, but see if are you the one doing all the giving, and if you are, then that's a problem.
I tell people, I say, it's as a few things you control. The first one is be you. The
Mm-hmm.
next one is always be understanding. Third one is listen. And
Mm-hmm.
then the next two, I usually have them fill in something that's important to them. I give them 5 things that I call as their SOP. The first
Mm-hmm.
one is, like I said, be you. The next one is be understanding. The third one is listen. And then from there,
Mm-hmm.
I said, now put forth something that's to be important for you to learn how to work on. And then the fifth one is also something for them to work on, because as we both know, the SOP is you can build it, and it's not something you take away from, but you can add to. And as we look
Right.
at our SOPs for ourselves, we always need to keep ourselves in check. Um, which brings me to, as a much of a busy person as you are, how do you
Mm-hmm.
balance it all?
Oh man. Uh
Because even right now, you're studying on the weekend, and during the week, you're doing
yeah.
other stuff. You work at the Veterans Home, you're a mom. So, how do you really balance it all?
I Thankfully, being a Libra, balance is huge for me, because if I'm not balanced, I'm not well. That's usually when my mental health is like a -3. Um, Learning how to compartmentalize things. Here I go with those words again. Sorry, I'm feeling really intelligent today. But learning how to compartmentalize everything that's happening has been a huge help. Not taking, if I'm frustrated with something that's going on with Tai Chi Productions, I'm not taking it to Veterans Bridge Home, or I'm not bringing it home. Um, Scheduling and saying, okay, well, this day, this is the focus for this. Like on Mondays, I put out a newsletter through Veterans Bridge Home. So I know at work on Mondays, my sole focus is, until I get that newsletter done, y'all don't talk to me. Um, and they know that. But Monday is also a day where most of my schoolwork is due that morning. So
Busy day.
it's a busy day. And then I know Monday evening, I'm more than likely tapped out. So I try not to plan any of the hard stuff. I try not to have to record certain shows. Like I would never record the Lies and Garbage show on a Monday, because I'm not going to be all there, just because of where my brain has been that day.
Yeah.
That's more of a light day of doing the admin work for Tai Chi, maybe planning stuff for the music experience. But so I said all that to say it's been figuring out what day is best to do certain things, and one day is the sole focus for one thing over the other. Um, Calendars everywhere. I've got 2 phones. All the calendars are synced,
One for the
so
plug, one for the. Oh, my bad. My bad. My bad.
everything is gonna ding to remind me where I'm supposed to be. My daughter, who is truly my mini me, we call her Mini T, but oh my god, this child is like me, but smarter.
Mini
She
me.
really is, and we're one day apart. That's what's really cool, right? Um, so she has me running between her musical theater stuff, because she's in a performing arts school, and drum lessons and theater lessons. So it's calendars everywhere. Um, Knowing, planning things out a day ahead of time, a week ahead of time, as early as possible. Usually, I'm not really doing a whole lot of things on the fly most days out the week, especially. And that helps me balance things very well. And having realistic expectations with myself. Like, I know there's some days of, okay, now you know daggone well you ain't got time to cook. So we're not cooking that day. We're just gonna grab Chick-fil-A and it's okay. Like, it's one day out the week.
Or you may
Um
order in.
or order in, right. Like, it's realistic expectations. I can't and that was a hard thing for me because I used to be a perfectionist. I'm learning how to be an excellentist instead, because otherwise, like, I'd never be happy because I was trying to go to work full time, run two businesses, go to school full time, making straight A's, cook every day, run my kid around, and I was absolutely miserable. That lasted all of 2 weeks, and then I said, "Whoa, something's got to give. Like, you have to help me around the house some more. We'll order in or go out, a few times a week." I had to start hiring some people to do some other stuff for Tai Chi productions. Like, this is way too much. So just trying to balance it that way, is figuring out what I can handle and when I can handle it. And then if I can, I can't.
So y'all heard it here first. Excellent in this.
Excellent.
It's a Taiwanderism. Y'all cannot use it. Do not let me see that pop up on shirts unless you give the credit. Give us the credit.
Right.
Excellently yes. That's interesting because I call myself a conversationalist and a wisdomologist.
Mhm.
So I every time somebody,
Wisdomologist.
yeah, somebody they be
That's
like,
funny. I like that.
exactly, because it's on my card, and they said wisdomologist. I said, yeah, it's my word. They said, okay, I like it, I like it. I said, yep, you
I
can't use
like
it either
that.
because it's mine, it's mine. Just like excellence is yours, and they can't use it. So my last question, I'm going to ask you
Mhm.
to pick a number between 1 and 5. The number you pick will be the last question I ask you. Have you picked your number yet?
Yes.
What number is it?
3.
Okay. What is your typical date night like?
Date or day?
Date night. What is your typical date night like? Hey, you pick the number. After you answer, I'll tell you
um,
what the other four
can we
questions
define
was.
date night?
It's your definition. What is your typical
Uh,
date night like? It's whatever you say it is. So
um,
has it been that long? Hey, dudes, start crying. Just a
I,
typical date night for you. What would you expect?
I don't
What
have
is
it.
your idea of it?
Oh, idea. Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
what is your
okay. I
typical
thought you meant
date
like
night
in
like?
real life, because in real life it doesn't exist.
Well,
Okay, all
hopefully
right.
it would exist
So,
if that's what you're wanting to do. Because Valentine's Day is coming up. That's why I asked the question. What is your typical date night
um,
like?
what I would like for a date night is, I'm not a dinner and a movie type girl, but I do like uh, an untraditional dinner. It doesn't have to be a romantic place, just something that's really yummy. Um, a walk, a nice walk to talk. It's like on a real Jill Scott type vibe. Went to a bookstore, or I miss the days of music stores because that would be even better. But somewhere where you can go and talk and really learn each other, and you could do that when you take a long walk or go to a bookstore. You'll learn different types of things. Maybe you learn that they don't like to read.
Hmm.
But I love bookstores. Um, a bookstore or Target or the at-home store, we can be in there for hours. That would be fine with me. Or Best Buy. No, I
IKEA,
might act. I might.
three
Oh God.
levels.
Oh God. Okay. Oh, okay. I forgot. I went in there one time for one thing and got completely lost, and I was like, I cannot. I can't come in here. But yeah, that's even a decent, a really cool date idea, because you can walk and talk and learn so much about each other in IKEA because it's huge. Um, so that's what it looked like for me. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic,
Like, girl, where
especially in
y'all
this
going
space.
today? That we went to IKEA, then we went to At Home. What the hell wrong with y'all? Y'all, what y'all looking? Did y'all went where? Yeah, then we went to Tarjay. What? Man, you need to get rid of him. I already heard it. You need to get rid of him. He cheap. He gave me some
Hey, I mean,
cinnamon
it's
rolls from IKEA. That was good too. He was like, yeah, you need to get rid of him. He cheap. He done messed your mind up. I already heard it.
probably not that. Now that I think about it, the at home store probably isn't great because I'm probably like I get excited at the at home store and they get military discounts, so that's my store. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Well, it's
But
it's great. It just probably be at it. It depends on how you do the circle because if you do IKEA, Tarjay, then at home, then it works. But it just depends on where you
true.
put it because IKEA should either be the first place and then
Mm-hmm.
Tarjay and Tarjay because it's bougie, uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and
I
then
say
at
that too.
home. One of those two should be the last stop.
Mm-hmm.
So IKEA should be the main place because that's where
Yeah.
you're going to get your conversation in, especially if
Mm-hmm.
you're just left wherever y'all eat at. So go to IKEA,
Mm-hmm.
walk it off, conversate. You don't want to go to
Right.
IKEA then go eat because you already super hungry. You know, and all y'all gonna do is walk around IKEA
Mm-hmm.
eating popcorn, hot dogs. You be like, man, let's go home. But but IKEA it would probably be the first place. Then uh, at home because they don't really have food. Then you can go to Target. Then if
You
you
can
go to
get
Target
snacks.
last, yeah, y'all can finish the night off with ice cream and stuff like that. So it'd probably be the loop like
True.
that. Yeah, because
True.
but by the time y'all get to Target, nobody's in there. You can continue on the conversation.
Right. I like that. And then
And you,
people say date night and go to a dinner and a movie and call it a day. First of all, you can't talk in the movie. And
mhm.
then, um, I feel like is a movie a date, sure, but early in, like, I don't really want to watch a movie. I'm trying to get to know you, so you can, just walk and talk, and then you learn real quick before you get out of IKEA. Hey, this ain't gonna work.
Yeah, we ain't gonna make it
Problem
to the
solved.
third level. No, we ain't gonna make
Right.
it to the third level. Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, yeah,
we stopped before we got to the
yeah.
kitchen. It's a hard no. Pass.
Yeah, we be on the
Friend zone.
podcast. We be on the podcast. So Ted, how did that go? Yeah, we was just first level. Yeah, we didn't even make it past the kitchen stuff. So we was first level date. First
I've got
level,
to bring
yeah,
this up and I got to bring this up and let me holler at you because that is good. Oh my gosh, that's gold right there. He is going
yeah.
to
It's
die
it's
laughing.
because y'all are bringing it up and you be like,
Take the
yeah, we
date to
didn't,
IKEA. We gonna give you
how
your credit too.
yeah, how'd your date go? Let's put it in the level of IKEA. IKEA 3 levels, right? Did y'all take the stairs or did you take the elevator? I thought about taking the elevator so we can talk, but I mean, the stairs so we can talk, but we took the elevator. It was over with, over with, over with, over with, over with. Um, the questions that you didn't choose, you chose three.
Hmm.
The first question is, you don't have to answer these. I just wanted to mix it up. These are my questions
Okay.
for next week. Uh, First question is, what are your thoughts on Valentine's Day, and are
Mm,
there any pressures associated with that day? The second
mm,
question is, do you have a balanced energy between giving and receiving gifts? The fourth
mm,
question is, as a single person, what's important? And as a married person, what will be important? Fifth question
mm.
is, how hard is it to keep the conversation lines open, and does it fall on both parties sometimes?
Oh
These
man,
are,
those are all great questions.
yeah, and you chose three. So you
Those are
chose
great
the easy
questions.
one.
I chose three. Oh,
You chose the easy
but
one.
I mean, that could be easy depending on the person. Honestly, it's not easy for me just because of what I'm looking for in a partnership. Um, I
Well, let
feel
me
like I
ask
have
this.
to answer five. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, if you want to answer one of the other ones, you can. I just thought
Uh-huh.
I'd ask, hey, between 1 and 5, pick one of the
Hmm.
questions, and you chose three. But if you want to answer one of the other for questions, you can. You said five. How
Hmm.
hard is it to keep
Five was
conversation lines
the
open?
communication. What was
Yeah.
four?
Four is as a single person, what's important, and as a married person, what will be important.
Mm,
You want me to read the other two?
mm.
She's like, let me get the other two pieces of candy too. So let
I
me
know
read them
what was
again.
about Valentine's Day. Okay, go ahead.
So the first
Shoot.
one, what are your thoughts on Valentine's Day, and are there any pressures associated with this day? Uh, Two, do you have a balanced energy between giving and receiving gifts?
Okay, so one, commercialism to me. Of course, there's pressure. I really only do for my kid because she's a kid,
Yeah,
but she's gonna feel special on Valentine's Day. Everything else, eh. Um, but I think that's because my ex husband and I had a thing where we did for each other all the time. And I would just get a random nice gift or some random flowers just cuz. And if you are always loving on each other, what's the day? But that doesn't mean that you just ignore it because you don't want somebody to feel some type of way. But um, two was shoot,
the balanced energy with gift giving. I
balance
think you
energy.
explained just that one.
Yeah, I have it, but I'm not used to. I haven't been big on getting on the receiving end a lot. Like maybe I'm getting there. But I love to give. I just love to make people happy. So I probably am.
That's why I asked the
Um,
question because you know a lot of times it's, oh, let me get this car, let me get this diamond bracelet, and then all of a sudden for
mhm.
men it's, hey, here go your pack of drawers, here go your socks. So that's why I asked, is it a balanced energy? Because it's as a couple, it's your day, but it's perceived as
Hmm.
being one person's day.
Just from
That's why I
Woman's
asked the
Day, right?
question.
Yeah. No, I love to give thoughtful gifts too. So if you've mentioned um, that you've really wanted, I don't know, a particular shirt, but you just never got the shirt. I'm going to get the shirt because I know that's something that you wanted and you'll value it because you looked at it and that's something that you wanted. I'm not that type of giver at all.
I'm just gonna be honest. We can't be together because I go in Tarjay, be like, "Man, that's a nice shirt," and I put it right back down. I'll be like, "Man, I'm gonna buy this." Nope, put it right back down. I go in stores to pick stuff up, be like, "Man, this is a nice shirt." I'm like, "Man, this will look good on me," just so I can talk myself out of buying it. I don't need this shirt. I got shirts I
I
ain't
do
even
that
wearing.
for
Boom,
me too, though.
I hang it right back
I'm
up.
terrible at giving to myself. I'm starting to get better, but for
Well,
my daughter or for anybody I love, like I do the most. But it come to me and it'd be like, "Whoo, $20? Whoo, that's expensive. I'm not buying that."
that's how like me. I'm like, whew, y'all ain't got nothing for $6, $7 around here. Dang, it's what a discounts at. Mm,
Right,
but
right.
it's not.
I'd have bought her a expensive something or other. And for me, I'm like $5.
Yeah, it's not
Mm-mm.
that I don't do for myself. It's just that I know I have clothes that are still brand new that I haven't worn for like 3 or 4 years. So I'm like, why am I buying new
Oh
clothes?
no.
I still got stuff I haven't wore. I've given
Well, I
clothes
can't
away
help you
because
there,
I haven't
friend.
wore them. So that's why I go in there. I'll be like, no, I don't need this. I said the shirt look good though, but I don't need it. So it's hard for to buy stuff for me at Christmas. So I try to make it inexpensive. Like since I'm podcasting, I to Christmas I told my mom, I said, "Hey, this microphone's right here. This is what I need." Instead of me buying, I'm like, "This is what I need," and it's the ones that I can
That's
use on the
fair.
go. Yeah, and like little pins and stuff like this. I'm like, "Hey, tell my niece
Hmm.
to get me this. That's what I need." That
Yeah,
way, they're
that's
not
cool.
buying stuff that I don't need that I probably won't ever use because I'm just going to end up
Right,
giving it to them. I'm like, "Hey, here you go."
right,
So.
right.
Uh,
That's fair.
Did you want
Yeah.
to do the other two questions?
What was 4 and 5 again?
Four, as a single person, what's important? And then, the backside of that is as a married
Hmm.
person, what would be important?
Same
Because
thing.
you live both.
I've lived both. I would say it's the same thing essentially is love you and take care of you first because you can't pour from an empty cup.
And, five was the conversational aspect. Is it how hard is it to keep the lines open? And does it fall on both parties sometimes?
it should not be hard to keep the lines of communication open. But Jesus, um,
Yes, let's say that
that
again.
is a struggle for
Jesus.
some people, right?
Jesus. Mary, Joseph,
Communication
Abraham.
gets them every time.
Mm,
It falls on both. Unfortunately, I feel like we judge people's lack or interest in general based on the communication, if there is enough or if there's not. But we live in a time where people have so many different cheat codes to communicate that they just don't do
hmm
it well anyway. Um, but it should fall on both of you of learning each other's communication styles and how to communicate with each other. So I think it's that's a dual role.
I appreciate you answering those 5 questions. I also appreciate you taking the
You're
time to
welcome.
stop by, not once, but twice today. Uh,
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
uh,
I truly
uh,
enjoyed it.
I appreciate that. If there is anything you need, let me know. I hear you're looking for an extra host. If there's anything you need, let me know. I do look for, I do look forward to speaking with you and working with you because you need an extra host.
Absolutely.
Uh, please, if you have anything to promote, please take the
hmm
time to do so now. And when you're done, I'll close the show out.
All right. I got a gazillion social media profiles, but I'm gonna tell you
Hmm
personally, I am Ty Wonder on all platforms. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, themuseexperience.com, and I think on social media we're Muse Experience F. I can't remember, but you can use the Muse Experience. I was so upset about that. Tai Chi Productions is Tai Chi Productions on all social media platforms and online. TYCHI. So www.taichiproductions.com. And if you go to my Instagram profile, it has a link tree with all of the shows linked to it because that's just way easier than me trying to give you each website. So
Yep.
you go to Instagram.com// Tai Chi Productions, hit the link tree, and it'll give you everything right there. Let me holler at you, Lies
So,
and Garbage Show. Tea Talk with
uh,
Tanya.
yeah, she has. You can find all of that on the link tree uh, on one of her social sites, and it is a lot.
Mhm.
Make sure you support all of that she has going on. And since you're watching this, wherever
Thank
you're
you.
watching it, make sure you like, subscribe, share, like, subscribe, share wherever those buttons are, wherever you're watching that. Not just on my platform, but on her platform also, because we're looking for you to like,
Yeah.
subscribe, and share. And remember that we all are trying to win. Ain't no trying, we
Mhm.
all are going to
We
win.
are.
We all are going to
Absolutely.
win. So, my closing quote for today comes from your
Mhm.
host, which is me. Uh, and it says, "You can't allow a bad experience to cause you to miss out on an amazing experience." That is the show
Ooh, that's
today.
good.
And in the immortal words of the people standing in the hotel lobby, when I see you again, I'm going to say, let's get it. Ty Wonder, I appreciate you coming by to
Thank
share
you.
some of your knowledge with me. Uh, let me know if you need anything, and I will be
Absolutely.
available. Everyone else,
Likewise.
love and history. Make some. Make some.
Love it.